Another day, another film that is incorrectly labeled as a rom-com when it's not. It's just a straightforward romance.
This is just fun, right?
Fun.
Fun.
So fun.
So fun.
Hi, I'm LadyJenevia, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new Netflix film, My Oxford Year. Based on the book of the same name by author Julia Whelan, My Oxford Year introduces viewers to Anna, an ambitious Hispanic-American woman who sets out for Oxford University to fulfill a childhood dream. She has her life completely on track until she meets a charming and clever local who profoundly alters both of their lives. My pull quote is as follows: "Scenic real-world locations and an indelible performance from Mylchreest elevate My Oxford Year above the often mediocre output of direct-to-streaming films that target the viewers with an appetite for romantic fiction." When I was first made aware of My Oxford Year, the film, I was fairly ambivalent about what the level of quality was going to be. I have grown increasingly frustrated with a lot of romantic fiction that has been made and released specifically for a direct-to-streaming platform. Low budgets often negatively impact the overall production budget, leading those works of art to feel more disposable. Lower budgets often lead to things like poor lighting, and that significantly hinders the film's overall romantic atmosphere. You want the audience to feel immersed in the warmth of that story. That's the tone of romantic storytelling. Because of the fact that My Oxford Year is actually being filmed on location at various English universities, it does make for a more immersive storytelling experience. The more real and practical they keep the film, the better the overall impact. Conversely, though, there's a point early on in the film, shortly after Anna has arrived in England, where the camera pans to show the window outside of her room, and it's supposed to be raining, except instead you are treated to some laughably bad VFX. Seriously, if I can find a rain filter I can quickly apply, I will put that on the footage right now. That's what it looked like. Have the corporate higher-ups who keep forcing artists to create with little to no money in their production budgets never seen rain before?
I don't even know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like!
And yes, it's highly necessary to lambast bad VFX when you see them, because poor quality VFX in major productions is more or less always an indication that VFX workers were not given enough funding or working hours to be able to do their work properly. I once had a VFX artist tell me that whenever you go to see those big Hollywood blockbusters that have really ugly CGI, the VFX artists that were tasked with doing that work are very aware of how bad it looks, but it's ultimately the poor quality working conditions that make it impossible for them to achieve the proper results. And given how often direct-to-streaming releases are shockingly underfunded, and you can tell by the way that they look, yes, if you show me terrible VFX, I will rate that portion of the film poorly, even if my overall review leans in the direction of fresh. But nitpicking aside, for now anyway, one thing that My Oxford Year has working in its favor is the well-designed characterizations of the two people who make up the main couple. You have a woman who has this very specific vision and plan for her life, but it's a plan without passion. And what is the romance genre if not one where people are expressing their authentic passions? Not just in the sense of the person they're going to fall in love with, but also an expression of their most authentic selves. Numerous love stories have been told where much more is revealed about the lead characters than just their hidden romantic feelings. Anna shows up to England exhibiting an embarrassingly romanticized idea of England, but let me not go on an entire Choki or Law rant. We will save that for another day. I've never actually done a dedicated video review to Kneecap, but maybe I should because I love that movie.
There's a fucking snake!
So Anna has her little notebook full of a checklist of things she wants to do while she is in a new place, and that part I can understand. The one and only time I had the chance to visit Italy, I went to as many House of Gucci filming locations as I could reasonably fit within that time frame in that particular city.
Ferre, Armani, and Versace.
Anna has this very neat and organized approach to life, making her the perfect candidate to experience what?
This is a smokeless garden.
Disruption.
Enter Jamie Davenport, generationally wealthy Englishman.
Ugh.
Our friendship is built on our mutual distrust of England.
He's also the what would we call him? Assistant professor? Professor in training? He's the teacher of literally the only class we ever see Anna attend while she's at Oxford. Is it a student-teacher romance? Well, yes, and I'm sure that will spark its own tendrils of online discussion, because would it be romantic fiction without a whole lot of online discourse? Probably not. Jamie is chaotic compared to Anna's more controlled approach to life. He's the spark that's needed to incinerate her best-laid plans. Conceptually, narratively, it's a decent foundation, but concept alone will never be the key to success for a work of romantic fiction. The way to win over the romance-loving audience is to appeal to their emotions. Can you convince them of the chemistry of your two leads? Now, I read through the press packet for my Oxford year, and it did say that Sofia, the lead actress, was involved in the casting process of her leading man, who ended up being Corey. Sofia stated, "I was involved in the casting process for Jamie, and when we started the initial conversations of which actors we would consider, I always knew it would be Corey. I remember watching Queen Charlotte and being in awe of his craft. We met in London at his chemistry read, and the moment he walked into the room and we started reading the script, the scenes came to life and we transformed into Anna and Jamie. We melted into them. Instantly. Corey was a true partner in this experience. He approached Jamie with the same responsibility as I approached Anna, and we were both committed to diving heart and soul into these characters and into bringing their love to life. We enjoyed every second of doing this together, and it was just really, truly beautiful." Now, I am not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of how these actors worked with one another, but on screen, it does come across like they have a very good working relationship and that they are comfortable enough to be able to really dig deep into the relationship that plays out between Anna and Jamie. There was a brief moment where I wondered if we would actually get to have a true rom-com when they were having their meet-cute because of the energy and humor baked into their interactions in that scene. But alas, no, ultimately this is a straightforward romance. And if you hear my less than pleased tone, that's not an indication of the level of quality of the film, but more so my personal frustration that companies or specific individuals who work in marketing keep trying to pretend that films are going to be rom-coms and then they're not. Unlike Materialists, though, at least the trailer for this did look like a straightforward romance, but someone keeps listing these films online like they're going to be a rom-com, and then after the film comes out, they change the description so that it will just say romance or romantic drama. Do not throw the term rom-com around and then fail to follow through.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
But by far the most significant standout element of this film is Corey Mylchreest. Right from the very first time we met Jamie, the acting was so unexpectedly vibrant and captivating. He was just so animated in his facial expressions. There's a very specific character choice he makes where he very frequently smiles, as in full-blown cheek-to-cheek smile, like a toothpaste commercial smile. And it's such an exceptional character choice for him to make as an actor, because this character, Jamie, is so alive, and his entire philosophy of making the most of each and every moment, it makes all the sense in the world that he would smile like that, and as often as he does. And moreover, the fact that he's usually smiling like that at Anna specifically. But the line delivery, particularly in that meet-cute scene, was so energetic and memorable, my eyes and ears perked up because suddenly my attention was being demanded in a way that I did not anticipate. And do you know why? Because unbeknownst to me, Mr. Corey over here, he knows how to deliver whimsy? Each and every one of my regular viewers should already know by now, because of how often I mention it, that I will jump up and run towards whimsy.
Bit of foreplay, twinkle in the eye, the deed, pregnancy.
That was when I became more excited about watching, because I almost dared to hope in the heat of the moment that this might have more of a rom-com vibe than I originally hoped. But no, eventually you start to learn more about the characters, and Jamie has some less pleasant things going on with his life. He doesn't get along well with his father. It's a whole thing. If you are watching this review, you may have already seen the film, but because this is technically an early review, in case you haven't seen the film yet, I am keeping those full details to myself until you have time to watch it, even though it was based on a book that I'm assuming reveals everything. But nonetheless, I have to give top marks to Corey as Jamie in the meet cute scene because it immediately made me think that this man needs to be cast in an actual rom-com. I've only seen him in 2 things at this point, and both of them were romantic dramas. Enough of that. Let's see you do 2 hours of whimsy instead of just one whimsical scene. I do have to nitpick 1 or 2 other things, though. There's a side character who is British, and this character says a line that included the word crumpet, and it was so jarring and hit my ear so wrong that I had this visceral response of, oh, was this written by Americans? Listen, if you're going to write a character or characters that do not speak in your specific dialect, please give the screenplay to some people who do speak that dialect just so they can smooth those details out. The film is not completely oblivious about the cultural perception of what English things are typical versus what tourists think are typical. As an example, those afternoon tea parties with the finger sandwiches. Also, this is a mild spoiler, but there's a point where Anna experiences racism from an aggressive Englishman that is not Jamie, and this man even tried to degrade her as this weird, I guess it would be negging. I think that's what that word means, though I've never really used that word myself, but he's trying to insult her into making her buy him a drink. And Jamie doesn't try to fight this man. He just calls him mate and tries to placate him into not continuing to chase after Anna when she's trying to leave the pub. Now, I'm not saying he should have called the police because the absolute last people I would trust in England are the police, but you didn't even punch that man? You didn't yell at him? That's the woman you're clearly interested in. That's what we're here to see. She just got attacked, and that was your response. I was severely underwhelmed.
Can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe.
I hated that scene. It was such a jarring inclusion and disruptive to the story when there is little to nothing else in this film that seems to be trying to make a serious political point or address political topics. And mind you, my top 4 films of 2025 currently all have some sort of revolutionary, fight back against oppressors and oppressive systems type of commentary woven into those stories. So I'm exactly the type of viewer that would have enthusiastically welcomed a bit of righteous retaliatory violence against that creep in the pub, but there was no retribution to be found, so I would have preferred you scrap that altogether. Overall, though, I think the film is competent in many of the ways that it should be in order to satisfy the target audience. This film is for the people who want to watch a story where somebody travels to a new country and falls in love, have some sadder moments here and there, really dig into larger questions about what type of life and love you want to have. It's a very first world, seize the day and your own happiness type of story done at an above average standard. If the options are fresh or rotten, I'm rating this one fresh. It achieves what it sets out to do, and I believe that plenty of people are really going to enjoy being swept up into this love story.